Welcome to Comic Power. This is Comic Killer 72. I'm trying out a new recording device and I'm outside. I'm actually driving in the rain, so if you hear some background noise, that's exactly what that is. Today we're going to be doing a new episode of The Rant. The Rant is where I talk in detail about one particular topic, and I'm not limited to time and space. The videos that I normally do based on my style or basically audio with like moving pictures, and it takes a lot more time to record and edit those than your typical talking head videos. I never was that much of a fan of the talking head videos. I liked what Mr. Sunday Movies was doing. He does a lot of the style of what I'm doing because I don't want you concentrating on looking at my face all day. I want you to listen and understand the material of what I'm talking about. So in saying that, we're going to go ahead and get started with some house cleaning. And the house cleaning is this. If you look at the main homepage at my YouTube, there's going to be a little bell there. That bell is a notification bell. If you click on it, it will tell you, do you want to subscribe to this channel and do you want to receive alerts? Excuse me. There's a subscribe button that says, do you want to subscribe? The alert button is going to say, do you want to get alerts? So basically, it'll let you know when a new video is being posted. So that's the best way to keep up with the channel. Also, I want to let you know that I do have an eBay page where I sell comics, and that's going to be stores.ebay.com/One Stop Thrift Shop. So people have seen One Stop Thrift Shop on eBay before, and they didn't get the connection that it's also Comic Power. I started One Stop Thrift Shop back in 2012 before I even had a YouTube page. So that name is there, and I don't want to change it to Comic Power to sink in because that's the name of that particular thing. So I may do something in the future where I have my website forward over to that when you go to comicpower.net, which I still need to get up, which is another story in itself. So I'm getting off on way too many tangents, so let's go ahead and get started on what we're here to talk about today, which is that trolls are attempting to tank Black Panther's score on Rotten Tomatoes on the fan score. Now, obviously, some people need to get a freaking life because it's sad I even talk about this. I'm just exhausted. My brain is just rattling with the pure stupidity of what this is. So let me go into some details about what happened here if you haven't heard about it yet. So allegedly, well, not allegedly, it actually happened. There was a Facebook group that their whole intention was trying to tank some of these Marvel, therefore Disney properties because of two different reasons. The founder of this Facebook troll page was claiming through an interview that he gave to the Huffington Post that he's a member of the alt-right. So that should already raise an eyebrow right there. And he also claimed to be a DC fan, and he was one of the people that subscribed to the whole conspiracy theory that somehow DC was paying people off, critics and fans, etc., to try to give a low score to DC movies. That allegedly Marvel was ordering this from Disney to try to tank DC. Which is completely ridiculous. We'll talk about it as well, but let's talk more about the group. So this group had already targeted Star Wars The Last Jedi previously, which had a very low overall fan score. We'll go over that in the comment section, those scores and whatnot. And since the score was lower than most of the Star Wars movies have been lately, they were claiming credit for this low score. And their next thing they were trying to do was targeting Black Panther and the Han Solo movie. And some of the things that the guys stated in the Huffington Post response when they contacted him was that he's a member of the alt-right, and he founded this group because he was tired of women characters getting such big, enormous lead roles in these Star Wars movies, which already shows he's a misogynist that, you know, wants women to be barefoot and pregnant, you know, and get in there and make me a ham sandwich. You know, really living 50 years ago. You know, we're not in those days anymore. There's female characters are becoming very prominent in science fiction and comics, etc. If you didn't catch movies like the freaking Hunger Games, it has a female lead. It's one of the highest grossing movies ever. Or Wonder Woman, which is DC's highest performing movie in their new DCU universe. So this is long overdue that female characters wouldn't be the damsel in distress, but could be lead characters. That's just the way it is. Women are the majority of people in the workforce. Women are the majority numerically in the electorate when it comes to the presidential elections. Women are the former minority, if you want to call them that. Sometimes they're classified that way, are now the majority and have more political and economic power than they've ever had. And of course, they want to see themselves reflected on screen, not as just the love interest or the damsel in distress, like I said before, but women are going to be in these lead roles and stuff like Star Wars. If you think about it, though, Princess Leia was never this real docile character. She would pick up a gun and say, you know what, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it, and be a real warrior. So that type of thing was already in her. And think about how, okay, she got captured by Jabba the Hutt, and she was like his little slave in the little costume that she was wearing, you know, the Princess Slave Leia. But at the end, she takes her chains and she chokes out Jabba the Hutt. I mean, that is gangster. So women characters have been presented in action type of ways before, and we're just expounding upon that right now. We're expanding upon seeing female characters in lead roles. So what this guy is talking about is completely nuts. So basically, somehow or another, through his trolling, he was able to find other people that wanted to be down with this trolling, and 5,000 people subscribed to this Facebook group, and they were basically saying they were going to target Black Panther, which comes out February 16th. So think about it. You're saying that you're going to intentionally sabotage a movie that you haven't seen yet out of spite over some political ideology. Seriously, because you're an alt-right, bigoted, racist, anti-woman misogynist. So there is some good news here, though, that Facebook has suspended the group. They have deleted it because it violated their terms of service, which is good for Facebook. And some people may say, hey, I have freedom of speech and whatnot. Yes, you do. You have the freedom to say what you want to say. But Facebook does not have the obligation to let you do it on their platform, because they have a terms of service and agreement that you sign before you create a group or say anything in terms of, you know, creating a profile on Facebook. So basically it's their sandbox, and if you don't like the rules, we can kick you out. You can create your own website and host it yourself and say whatever the hell you want on your own time and your own dime. But over here, if you're saying some crazy stuff, it's basically nothing more than cyber terrorism. That's exactly what it is. Cyber freaking terrorism and sabotage. Then we can kick you out, because we're not having that mess around here. It is 2018. It's not 1918. It's 2018. We've come much, much further than this as a society about what is acceptable and what's not. Hate speech, cyber terrorism, bullying, and all this type of mess, there's no place for it. So if you are a member of my YouTube as a subscriber and you refer to yourself as a alt-right supporter, feel free to unsubscribe, because I don't want you here. That's not how we talk. That's not how we get down. We respect each other regardless of race, gender, national origin, Your sexual preference, I could give a damn. Martin Luther King already said it best. Judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin. It sounds cliche, it sounds like I may be preachy, but that is the truth. That is the way you should live in terms of how we treat each other. Content of character. So, I want to talk about the conspiracy of what Disney was accused of, which is completely ridiculous, but we have to talk about it. And that conspiracy is that they allegedly was paying off critics and possibly some fans as well to go to RottenTomatoes.com and intentionally give DC movies a low score. And I'm going to basically pick apart how completely ridiculous this is anyway. First of all, at Rotten Tomatoes, there's two different types of scores. There's going to be an aggregate critic score, which is going to be, did the critic give a thumbs up or thumbs down? Did they say yes, they like it, or no, they didn't? Sometimes they'll say they liked it and give it a thumbs up with some apprehension a little bit. And they'll say, I reluctantly give it a thumbs up. So the system isn't, 100% foolproof, whatever. If you are a fan, you can join and link it up to your Facebook, and you can give it so many stars or whatever, and you can give your own little review there as well. So it tallies all those up, and it gives a critic score and it gives a fan score. Sometimes they match up and they're pretty even, like The Dark Knight. Everyone loved it. The critics loved it. The fans loved it as well, in the high 90s on both. Okay. And then there's movies like, say, Harlem Nights by Eddie Murphy. The critics hate it. It's got a very low score. But the actual audience, like myself, loved it. We don't know what you're talking about, critics. Y'all, you really just didn't get it. This is a hilarious movie. So, in saying that, they take up all of these scores and you get a average aggregate of what that actual score is in terms of what the critics said and what the audience said. So, in saying that is why the allegation on Disney is ridiculous. Is Rotten Tomatoes is partially owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is the parent company of DC Comics. So why would Rotten Tomatoes intentionally tank the score of their own product? It makes no freaking sense whatsoever. And why would Rotten Tomatoes, which is partially owned by Warner Brothers, allow a competitor to find some type of way to do cyber terrorism against them and some type of espionage thing? It doesn't make any freaking sense. The scores on Rotten Tomatoes for these movies from DC are low because the movies have been very divisive. They have not been what we thought they would be in terms of performance. Only the most hardcore people, the most hardcore DC fans are going to defend it. Okay, if you're a casual fan or a casual viewer or whatever, 4 of the 5 movies have not performed that they've made in terms of box office and critical and audience acclaim, except for Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is the only one that has a very high critic score, a very high audience score, and it did tremendously well on the box office, earning over $800 million compared to its budget, which was give or take about 170 million or so. So once again, the whole idea of this conspiracy theory that Disney somehow tanked DC and they made DC's scores low on the critic and or on the audience side is completely preposterous. I mean, you would think that Warner Brothers would pull some strings behind the scenes that would try to increase the scores, since it's basically under the same, you know, parent company, whatever. So anyone that tells you that, you know, Disney is doing something crazy, they're Rotten Tomatoes, whatever, explain to these people that are saying this to you that, hey, you can look at Rotten Tomatoes on Wiki and any other source and see that part of it is owned by Warner Brothers. You know, Warner Brothers wouldn't want to tank its own thing. You know what I mean? So, in saying that, Rotten Tomatoes is stating that they're going to do everything they can to try to weed out bots, and those are those robots that, you know, have a mission and an agenda, and it's not really a person. It's just some type of software program that's, you know, repeating something over and over, you know. And they're saying they're going to try to, you know, make this clear and concise, and make sure that as close as they can as possible, that it's real people and not some robot or something like that. So all of this is just so ridiculous to me. Sometimes I hear these stories. I don't have a better word than ridiculous or preposterous right now, because I'm recording this in real time while I'm driving. I'm not scripted at all. So my thoughts on this is, I want all comic book movies to be good. I don't care who makes them. It really doesn't matter to me. If it's DC or it's Marvel, I want them all to be good. Because if they're all good, then that means Hollywood says, okay, we're going to make more comic book movies. So there'll be more comic book movies that you will be able to see. There are projects such as Saga. You know, I'd love to see a Saga movie. It's a new project. It's only been out since 2012. It's one of the most critically acclaimed comic books out there. Right now, the author, Brian K. Vaughan, and the co-author of it are basically stating, you know, that they do not wish to turn it into a movie, but, you know, if Hollywood came and said, we're going to write a $200 million check and we're going to give you $50 million as a co-creator of this project, I think that would change your mind real quick. So basically what I'm getting at is, if these movies are all making $1 billion, boom, 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 and then, you know, Hollywood's going to say, well, we want some more of that. And for example, right now, DMG Entertainment was a partner with Valiant Comics with the intention of making movies based on those characters. So that's Bloodshot, Exo Man of War, Harbinger, Ninjak, etc., that whole universe. And DMG has recently bought out completely Valiant. They had owned 57% of the company. They were going to be producers on the movies in a partnership with Sony. They announced it way too soon before Valiant was happy with them. So it forced Valiant's hand, and Valiant had to say, yes, we have a deal to make these movies. And everybody thought, okay, the announcement was in 2014. We should be seeing them in 2016. Wrong. It's 2018. We still haven't seen them. At this point, though, DMG has bought out Valiant and fired the CEO and all the top brass, and they now own it free and clear 100%, and they're going to present it and try to get Vin Diesel to play the lead role of Bloodshot. That's the name that's being talked about right now. So in saying that, the fact that Marvel made these billions and billions and billions of dollars, it made DC get off their butt and say, you know what? Of the 4 greatest comic book characters ever in existence on Mount Rushmore, those are Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. DC has the advantage. They already have 3 of the top 4 greatest heroes ever created. And on top of that, they own them 100% free and clear under Warner Brothers. They wasn't like Marvel, where everything was disjointed, and, you know, Sony owned Spider-Man and the X-Men were owned by Fox, and Marvel had to find a hodgepodge way of putting together the Avengers and working with what they had, because they didn't have X-Men and Spider-Man, which was clearly their A+ properties. But in saying that, the whole point is that Marvel's success made DC say, yes, we want some of that pie, and how they executed, of course, is another story for another day. But said, we want a piece of that pie. It made DMG, who was producers for Looper, and they were also a producer on Iron Man 3. They're basically partly Chinese and partly American company, but technically considered a Chinese company. It made them say, okay, we want a piece of this too. Marvel doesn't need us because they got Disney money. How do we get in the comic book game? They said, okay, Valiant, you got the third largest universe out there. We're going to get a piece of this comic book movie pie by going with this built-in universe, with this hardcore core audience, with these really, really cool characters that are critically acclaimed, have won Harvey Awards, been nominated for Eisners, etc. like that. And so that makes them say, we want a piece of it. So at the end of the day, what I'm getting at, I'm rambling at this point, is that I want all movies to be good. I don't see any reason why Disney would want to disrupt their competition. If Disney makes these movies, and then, you know, they've been great, you know what I mean? There's some formula there. Yes, some of the villains have been weak. Loki's been like the best villain so far, you know, that type of thing. We've seen that where the villain has the same type of power set similar to the hero. We saw that in the Hulk. We saw that in Ant-Man. We saw that in the first Iron Man, etc., etc. So yeah, you know, Marvel movies, I'm not going to say they're perfect, but they're a lot of fun. You know, you buy a ticket and you're going to be entertained. It's going to be a good time. You know what I mean? And they've done 17 movies at this point. And, you know, all of them have gotten, you know, very high critic and audience ratings. I think the Hulk is like the lowest, and it's still like, what, low 70s? You know, nothing they've made in terms of audience and critic has been ridiculously low. Even the ones that were considered disappointments, like the first two Thors and the solo Hulk movie. But yeah, we want them all to be good, you know? And I did a video about how DC is changing leadership, and Walter Hamada, who was involved in a lot of horror movies that were very successful at Warner Brothers and some other studios, is coming in, and he's going to put his magic on it to try to right the ship. You know what I mean? Because we've all seen the sunken place Ben Affleck in his interview. We've heard Superman state, you know, that, hey, it didn't work. So at this point, there was a lot of people, you know, they're not towing the company line anymore of, oh, everything's great, just wait till the next movie, and they're basically stating, hey, there's a lot of things that didn't work, we tried it this way, Zack Snyder's interpretation, he's gone, we're gonna, you know, revamp what we're doing. They're only gonna put out one movie, which is Aquaman, in December of 2018. They're going to go back to the drawing board on how they're going to get this right. I mean, they don't even have a set date for the Batman movie. We don't even know if Ben Affleck's going to be in it. You know, it's just, it's a mess that needs to get cleaned up at the moment. And I'm pulling for DC. I want them to be good. But we don't need trolls that want to try to do, you know, cyber terrorism as a way to get back because they got butthurt. You know what I mean? That's an expression you may see on the social media here and there, you know, butt hurt, whatever. So it's pretty funny. I try to throw in there. I don't know if I use it in the right context, but yeah, we don't need trolls trying to, you know, basically say, you know, I'm a DC fan and, you know, the movies are, it's Marvel's fault that they got low scores, and the low score was a conspiracy by Marvel and DC, and the people saw a low score and they said, okay, if the score is low, then maybe I don't want to see the movie. And they are people that much of a sheep, you know what I mean? I saw the low scores on Suicide Squad and all these other things. I'm a comic book movie fan. I went to go see these movies anyway. I thought Suicide Squad was better than what the critics and stuff were saying. In terms of a standalone movie, it's a pretty decent movie. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. If the intention was for that movie to be building the universe and connecting to the other movies, it didn't do a very good job of that. And there's things that they did, you know, I could nitpick all day. The Harley and Joker story there's so much there that they probably should have told that story first and then did Suicide Squad later, but I digress on that. So basically, in a nutshell, with me rambling all over the place, is there's trolls out there that are trying to seek some revenge that was never warranted, and they need to get a life. And it's a shame that we even have to dedicate time and energy to talk about this stuff, because it's so juvenile and so stupid. But unfortunately we do. You know, the people that subscribe to this channel are hopefully, you know, we all don't think the same. I expect for some of you to disagree with me completely, or disagree with me in terms of some of the things you don't like. You know, that's why I keep the comment section open and let people talk freely about what their opinions are. And I don't censor anybody. You know, if you say I didn't like it because the material wasn't up to my standard in terms of this or that, in terms of what they make movies, you know, the cinematography, did I like it? Did the story, did it work? Did the actors have chemistry? Not that, oh yeah, I don't like this thing, this woman is the lead character, that's crap, it should be a man. If that's how you think, just don't even come here. You know, I don't want to hear that. That's just ridiculous. That's some old racist, misogynist stuff that we're not going to have here. We're not going to talk about that. That's just hate speech to me. You know what I mean? We should be much well beyond that type of thinking in 2018. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. What do you think about the trolling and the trolling group? Are you glad that Facebook suspended that group? What do you think in terms of Black Panther's box office? I believe it's going to make about 1.1 billion at the box office. That's what I think. Tell me, you know, what do you think about the trolling, and how much do you think that Black Panther is going to make at the box office when it comes out on February 16th? So in saying that, this is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power, and this is another episode of The Rant concluding. So have a fantastic day. Happy Black History Month, and go see Black Panther. It's going to be outstanding. 1.1 billion is my prediction. See you guys next time. And don't forget to subscribe and share these videos on social media so others learn about the channel. This is Comic Killer 72, sign out. Bye-bye.